Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another fun episode with your girl, Audrey Codner from ACG Math Tutoring. I'm just sitting here bumping like there's no tomorrow because why? It's my birthday. Yes, girl was born today at 7:02 p.m. though, but you know what? I have a funny story, and if you'd like to hear it, I will definitely share it with you. But one of the things that I definitely want to do is let's do some math. Let me see how I can serve my purpose on this lovely planet, which my purpose is to break down these math concepts so you can feel empowered, so the world gets to see your greatness. So, as you guys are coming in, go ahead and tap away. This is going to be a free live, so don't worry about like, oh, she's going to leave in about a minute. No, I'm not going to leave in about a minute. Not a problem, gorgeous. Welcome on back. Hey, Shakita. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you guys. Yes, 53. I don't know about young because the way I got out of bed this morning. I think we all go through it. But this is what we're going to be working on, factoring. Now, if you're getting your GED, your ASVAB, ACCUPLACER, but especially like I want to say the GED, or maybe you're currently in class and you're working on factoring right now. And I love when some teachers are saying, you should know this, but they don't, babe. You know we don't. You know they don't know this. So here we go. So as you guys are coming on in, yes, go ahead and click the heart if you're one of my fans in my fan club. And I also, because now that they're switching the subscriptions to super fans, if you want to be a super fan, let's go. Put that cape on, baby, and let's fly. All right? But when we're looking at factoring, especially those that are trying to get your GED, baby, this is a 4-point question. Okay? We don't want to skip on the 4-point questions. So let's see if we can break it down instead of skipping them. So as I'm showing you, there are a couple, and there's a few more, but there are a couple most popular ways that you can factor. So if we take a look, first off is the GED. Sometimes GED, GCF. Got it all in the brain. So the GCF, the greatest common factor. So we're taking a look at what they have in common. We're pulling that bad boy out, and then we're dividing to see what's left. Another one is grouping. You know that you're going to be grouping because there is 4 terms. The other one is your AC method. That's when you have 3 terms, and I can show you really quickly how to do it, especially when the leading coefficient is 1. And then the other one is a quadratic formula. And you probably like, ooh, girl, I have to memorize that. Ooh, girl, yes, you do. So, and the reason why you're doing the quadratic formula is you're trying to find where your graph, because quadratic has a parabola, and you want to know where that parabola crosses the x-axis. So that's exactly what you're looking for. Thank you so much, Jimmy, for the happy birthdays. I appreciate you guys so much for taking time out on this lovely Saturday. And this is kind of weird because usually it rains on my birthday. Give it time. Give it time. Maybe this is the year I might be able to do something, right? Something outside. All right. So if anything, you can always take a quick little picture of things. All right. So, and then we have these steps. So you want to definitely copy down these steps. If you don't, I'm going to see if I can slide it up so you can take a quick pic, and you want to do everything. Okay. The quadratic formula, we're going to be doing everything, spam. We're going to be doing everything. Can you review for, Tay, I love everybody. Like, can you review? Can you review? What do you think I'm doing? I rolled my big ass out of bed so I can break all this stuff down to you. That's what I'm going to do. You gotta be kidding me. Okay. They just got shipped. Oh, good. I'm so happy. All right. So let's get started. Let's bring it all the way down. Thank you so much for the tapping. So, and we're probably going to be using a couple pages on this for today. So let's start off with 6x cubed minus 36x squared. Let's start off a little slow, then we have that progression. Okay? So when we take a look, first we have 6x to the third power minus 36x squared. So when you're factoring, you always want to find what's called the greatest common factor. So you want to say, all right, I know that I can find 6 in the 1 times table, the factor. So you want to say, all right, I know that I can find 6 in the 1 times table, the 2. I know I can find 36 in the 1s, the 2s, okay, the 3s, the 4s, definitely the 9s, 36 to 12s, and we're trying to figure out which one do they have in common. Well, the one that they have in common is going to be 6. All right, so we have to understand our multiplication so we can get that down. But when it comes to the exponents, okay, the x cubed and the x squared, when you are factoring, if they both have the same x's, but different, obviously, exponents, always go for the exponent, the lowest exponent, okay? Because you want to see what they have in common. So the way that they're doing it is like x times x times x. That's representing the x cubed. Then we have x times x. That's representing the x squared. So how many groups of x's do they have in common? They have 2, which is the lowest exponent. So that's how you find which should be that. Sometimes just knowing the GCF, you'll be able to find your answers because remember, it's a multiple choice quiz. Now, if you're in class, we're going to obviously have to do a little bit more. So what we're going to do is take this original and divide it by your GCF. And that's how you figure out what goes inside of the parenthesis. Okay? So, we have 6 divided by 6, which gives me 1. We don't have to put the 1. The 1 is understood. Then we have x cubed divided by x squared. So think of it this way. We started off with 3 x's. We pulled out 2 x's. That means there's 1 x remaining. Okay? Now we have a negative 36. And you're like, oh, Audrey, that's a minus sign. Minus signs act as negatives. Okay? So a negative 36 divided by a positive 6. A negative divided by a positive, that gives me a negative. 36 divided by 6, that gives me 6. Now for the x squared, you have 2 x's here. We snatched 2 x's out. So there's no x's left. So this is completely factored because if I look inside the parenthesis, this is representing like a linear function because I don't have an exponent. So that's not triggering my factor senses for me to break it down even further. This is how you factor using a GCF. Okay, good morning, good morning. Okay. All right. Why are you so mad? It's like 10:40 in the morning. Calm down. You need to breathe, girl. You need to breathe. All right. Okay, so let's take a look. Let me switch up. Now, if you have questions, please put it into the chat because that's the only way. Thanks, man. Good morning, Alex. Good morning. So let's try. Let's try this one. So we have 3 x to the 9th minus 8x to the 5th. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. So we have 3x to the 9th minus 8x to the 5th. First off, anytime they tell you the factor, you should always ask yourself, do I have a GCF? So if we're looking, I have 3 and I have an 8. The only time I can find a 3 in multiplication land is in the 1 times table and the 3 times table. For me, for the 8, in order for me to find an 8 in anybody's multiplication table is in the 1s, it's in the 2s, it's in the 4s, and it's in the 8s. The only thing that these two have in common is the 1 times table. So let me write it over here because I can tell by the pause of the likes. Everyone's like, say what? All right, don't be shy around here. Do not be shy. So for the 3 times table, let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger. 3 shows up in the 1 times table and the 3 times table. That's it, because 3 is a prime number. So for 8, that shows in the 1 times table, the 2, okay, the 4, and the 8 times table. So the only thing that they have in common is the 1 times table. Okay? All right? So since it's only 1s, we don't have to worry about breaking down the 3 and the 8. You could put the 1 out here. Go ahead, have fun. But now we have 9 x's here, and we have 5 x's here. Okay, I know there's a proper way of saying it. You know, it's x to the 9th power, x to the 5th power. This is not the platform. This is the platform for people that look, I struggle with math. I need for you to break it down. That's what this is. And if you feel like I'm insulting the whole art form of mathematics, you can just scroll on by, boo-boo, because that's what I'm doing. All right, so the youngest or the lowest exponent is going to be to the 5th power. You can write out all 9 of the x's and then write out all 5 of the x's and do 5 circles. But here's the thing, you don't want to waste too much time. So that's why you want to always go with the lowest exponent. So my greatest common factor is going to just be 1x to the 5th, or just simply x to the 5th. So when I factor that out, what remains is what happens after I divide this original with my GCF. Well, 3 divided by 1 is just 3. And I have 9 x's here. I snatched 5 x's here. That means I have 4 x's left. Okay, think of subtraction. When you're dividing, you're subtracting your exponents. Then you have your minus. Then you have your 8, because 8 divided by 1 is just 8. We start off with 5 x's. We snatched or pulled away 5 x's. There isn't any x's left. So now I'm looking inside and I'm seeing, all right, we got x to the 4th, but guess what? We got 3 and 8, and we already said that they don't have anything in common. So I really can't break this down into 2 separate parentheses because I can't figure out what 2 numbers multiplied together will give me negative 24 and add together give me 0. It's not possible. All right, so this is my GCF. But again, after I solved here, if I'm taking the GED, ASVAB, ACCUPLACER, any of those assessments, I'm taking a look at the answer choices. And if I see this there and I don't see anything else, that's my answer. Okay? All right. Yes. NFL, no, I do not do derivatives. Okay. All right, how we're doing. How we're doing, how we're doing, how we're doing. Okay. All right, thank you so much for sharing the live. Good morning, Elba. Elba's birthday was yesterday. How was your night? Is this on the GED? Yes, Sway. Say Sway squared? Yes. Yes. Okay, is this statistics? No, it is factoring. Where did I get this note paper? This is actually my notebook that I've designed. Okay, I designed it for my tutoring clients, and what I do is I just basically break it all down. I usually, and this will be great for you, for the before, during, and after. So you can check a little mood checker, see how they're doing during the whole process. And on top of this, not just the paper, it also gives you some resource pages in the back. So if you don't know your factors, if you got my lovely handy dandy notebook, you can look at factors from 1 to 200, because most people stop at 100. You also have some of these other resources that will help you out to help keep track. Order of operation. Huh, look at this, properties of exponents. We were just talking about this one, right? Okay. Decimal operation. Of course, there's stuff on the other side. It's just hard for me to keep going back and forth. But it just kind of gives you all of the essentials. And this one is for algebra and algebra 1. Okay, so all the essentials, all the references that I have here is for algebra and algebra 1. So if you would like to purchase, all you have to do is go here. And for the month of September, all my books are that. Okay. All right. Okay, awesome. Definitely. All right, so something's telling me. Not sure if Jessica, did you see that? Okay. All right, cool. Evan, just get the math homework done. Jeez. I swear, like, that's the one thing. I love my students. I love them when they're in the classroom. But I was like, guys, just get the homework done. Like, for me, I never gave homework on Fridays because I know I'm just going to get garbage back on Monday. So I was like, no, we're not doing that. I was like, we'll work hard during the week. And then Friday, you're going to be off. I'm going to be off. And we're going to start again on Monday. Right? So here is another one. I'm just going to up the game a little bit. So we have 5x squared minus 10x plus 3x minus 6. Okay, let's see if I can show this up a little bit. Okay. So now, this time, instead of 2 terms, 1, 2, 1, 2, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So when we have 4 terms, we're going to do what's called grouping. Okay? That's the only one. If they tell you to factor and they show you 4 terms, you are doing grouping. And the reason why they call it grouping is because you are going to group the first 2 and you're going to group the last 2 terms in your expression. Okay? That's why they call it grouping. I know, it's really not that deep. It's really not. Now, in order for us to do this, we have to do the GCF of each of the parentheses. So I'm going to cover up this first one so we could just focus our attention on this one. And let me see if I can get this stuff up here out of the way as well. Now, we have 5x squared minus 10x. So what we're going to do is try to figure out what number does 5 and 10 have in common. Doesn't have to be negative 10, but just the 5 and the 10. What do they have in common? Go ahead and put that in there. Okay, so Alba's saying 5. Okay, we're saying 5x. Haley's saying 5. We're saying 5. Good. We're saying 5. Here we go. So with just the numbers, 5 and 10, they do have 5 in common. So now for the x's, there's an x squared and there's an x. So they both have at least one x in common. So that's going to be your GCF. Okay? I'm going to do my parenthesis. And now, what I need to do is I'm going to divide the original by my GCF to figure out what goes inside the parenthesis. So, this is what happens when you do your hair. All of a sudden, it just wants to do something crazy. All right, so we have 5 divided by 5. That gives me 1. We had 2 x's. We pulled 1 x out. That means we have 1 x remaining. Negative 10 divided by 5. That gives me a negative 2. We have 1 x here. We pulled 1 x out, so we don't have any x's remaining. Okay? So the GCF, our factored of this first, is going to be 5x times x minus 2. Okay? Now, we're going to focus on this piece. So they're already giving me, it's a positive, so I'm bringing that plus sign down. So now we have to think. 3 and 6, what do they have in common? Hey, Jess. She's like, it's too early for me. It's all right. Imagine me. I'm up setting all this stuff up on my birthday. But hey, I have no one to give me food, so I gotta get up anyway. All right, so we have 3 in common. They don't have x's. Only just the 3 up here has an x. The 6 over here doesn't. So the only thing for my GCF is just going to be a positive 3. So now when we divide, 3x divided by 3 gives me 1x, or just x. The 1's always understood to be in front of the x, not just the x. Negative 6 divided by 3, that gives me a negative 2. So, covering this up, looking right here, what do you notice? What do you notice? Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it, my kings and queens. Also, oh, that'll be awesome. Thank you. Yes. Okay. There we go. Now, we're not canceling anything, but we do notice that inside the parentheses are exactly the same. That's good. Okay, so when you do grouping and you notice that one parenthesis is slightly off than the other, that means you have to check your multiplication again. Maybe that wasn't your GCF. So I got GED on the brain. Okay, so that means you might need a higher number, okay, if they're not the same. So that's the key. This, I want to say, is my GCF of this next line. So if I write that into one parenthesis, and then what remains, which is that 5x plus 3, I'm going to put them in their own parenthesis. Okay? What you just did was factored by grouping. Okay? Okay, let me get my hair together for a second. This is what happens, try to be cute. All right. Come on. Go into business, people. Let's go. All right. So that's factoring by grouping. And I'm going to write that off to the side here. But this is not the only way to do this. Okay? There's always so many different ways to do this. So I'm going to write the word or. And I'm going to rewrite everything for a second. So we have 5x squared minus 10x plus 3x minus 6. Now, we did it by grouping because it gave us 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. But if you also recognize, right here, dead center, we got like terms. We can combine, those like terms. So it's actually going to be 5x squared, okay, negative 10 plus 3. You owe me $10. You gave me 3. You still owe me $7. And then bring down the minus 6. So for your teachers that are watching here, trust and believe. Use money. Because for some reason, anytime we start dealing with integers, the struggle is real. So especially when they are adding, subtracting, the struggle is real. When you ask them, what's a negative times a negative, right away they'll tell you a positive. But for some reason, there's always a small disconnect of like, okay, apply it, you know? So just keep that in mind, okay? Now, we have, which I think a lot of people say, or someone asked me, can you do the quadratic formula? Of course I can do the quadratic formula. If I'm solving, I'm not solving. This is just an expression. Now, if I wanted to solve and find out what x equaled, yes, quadratic formula all the way, let's go. If they're asking for your x-intercepts, that's the perfect thing you can do. But we're just simplifying. So we're going to do what's called the AC method. Now, I don't know, at one point when I was teaching, this was the thing to do. And it just seemed to stick. So you're probably saying, well, what's A, what's B, and what's C? This is in what's called standard form. So my A is always the coefficient of my x squared. So my A is going to be 5. My B is always the coefficient of the x. So my B is a negative 7. And my C is always the constant with its signage. So that would be a negative 6. So some people like to do a T. I like to do a cross. And what happens is I'm going to multiply my A and my C and put the answer inside of this space. And I'm just going to rewrite my B and put the answer inside of that space. So when I multiply A and C, it's 5 times negative 6. So that will give me a negative 30. Okay, when the signs are unlike and you're multiplying or dividing, your answer is always negative. My B is my negative 7. So now, this is the hardest part. Trying to think what two numbers multiplied together will give me a negative 30. So let me write the word multiply, or just mult, and add together to give me a negative 7. So this is how my handy dandy notebook can kind of help with that feat. So I'm going to go to so I'm looking for negative 30. So I'm going to go to 30. Okay, I'm going to look at the factors of 30, which is 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, and 5 and 6. I know one of these have to be negative. In each of the sets, one of them has to be negative. So, but I want to see which one's going to give me a negative 7. All right. So Jess is saying 3 and 10. Okay. Which one is going to be negative? The 3 or the 10? Okay. Negative 10. There you go. All right. Negative 10. All right. So then we have 3 times negative 10 gives me negative 30. And 3 plus negative 10 gives me negative 7. So now you got a visual. Now you got some factors to work with. But this is the twist that supposedly a lot of people are like, what? What's going on? The twist is you're going to take your A and the variable, and you're going to write it as many times as exponent tells you, which is twice. So I'm making 2 ratios. The A is 5, and the variable is x. What's going to go underneath as my denominators are the 2 numbers that we just found. So this one's going to be a 3. This is going to be a negative 10. Just like fractions, we always want to get it simplified. Well, the only thing that 5 and 3 have in common is 1. So this is at its lowest term. But when I come over here, I got 5 and negative 10. What they have in common is 5. So 5 divided by 5, that gives me a 1. And negative 10 divided by 5 gives me a negative 2. So we're basically done. But we need to change these ratios into parentheses. You're probably like, ooh, what's this? Okay. First ratio goes in the first parenthesis. We start from the top. So that's 5x plus 3. The second ratio goes in the second parenthesis. So it's 1x, or just x, minus 2. Now it's factored. Okay. 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 Well, I didn't say how you used to do it. This is how I do it. Okay. So this is called the AC method. And I didn't say it, name it after myself. It's because you multiply the A and the C, and that's why you call the AC method. All right? So, you got choices. You got choices. And the next choice I think a lot of people used to do is a lot of guessing and checking. But that's time consuming. Okay? So, this is going to look time consuming, especially if you're new to it, because you haven't done it. Right? But once you know, and especially if you know your factors and you know how to reduce a fraction, AC method works pretty well for you. But if you struggle with fractions, my suggestion is to do the grouping. Okay? Do what makes sense to you, which make sure it's the right thing. Okay? Don't be like, oh yeah, all I have to do is just multiply the 5 and the 6. No. Okay? Right? All right. Okay. You think factoring is for chumps? Oh, don't be so hard on yourself. That's so harsh. Let's be positive. Yeah. All right. So, we could probably do the grouping. Let's see if we can do the grouping one more time. Okay. So we have our x squared minus x plus 2x minus 2. Okay. Again, they're giving you 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. How I know? Because they're being separated by plus and minuses. Okay, and they're putting it into 4 terms. FOIL is how you did it. FOIL is when you're multiplying polynomials. This is factoring. Factoring is the opposite. Okay. FOILing is only used for multiplying polynomials. So that's like when if you started off with 2 parentheses and you do the distributive property. That's FOILing. Slide and divide. Never heard of slide and divide. Okay. One. Okay. Okay. Hey Sharon, how are you? Yep, FOIL is different from factoring. Okay. So we group the first 2 and group the last 2. Okay. For GED, oh, sorry, Sway, I didn't see you. For GED, I use Kaplan. I use Kaplan's. And it doesn't matter which year, because what they do, I mean, you don't want something back in the 19s. Okay, obviously you want it in the 20s. So if it's like 3 or 4 years old, it's the same stuff. It's just different cover. Okay. Oh, of my math notebooks? Well, this is just, like if you're going to do GED, I would say the formulas for the Algebra 1. That'll be best. Well, thank you, Isaiah. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. So, grouping the first 2, grouping the last 2. So let's cover the last parenthesis. Now, what do they have in common? What is our GCF? Good. Good. We got X for Alberto. Okay, user. Thank you. Tashella. Okay, but X, Alba, X, Jess, S. Diesel, X. Sharon, X. Maddie, X. Cheerios, X. Good. So once we pull out the X, what's left over? Once we pull out the X, what's left over? You're sure good. I'm a good. Tashella. Oh, okay. Lovely. Love that. Thank you. Okay, Rhea. Good. Maddie. Put it all together. There we go. There you go, Jess. There we go. Nice. Tashella. Good. Why you quit? Don't quit. Stop quitting. Okay. Lily. I see a maybe, but what did you say before? Saying 2? Okay, so it's going to be a whole expression. All right, good. Nice, Heather. All right, so what we're doing, we have 2 x's here. We pulled 1 x out. That means we have 1 x remaining. -1, because if you don't see a number, it's understood to be there. Negative 1 divided by a positive 1 gives me a negative 1. There's 1x. We pulled out 1x, so that means there isn't any x's left. Okay, so now this is factored. Now we're going to do the same thing, but for the other side. Bring down the plus sign, that's here. Oops. Now, what's my GCF for 2x minus 2? All right, there you go. There you go. Nice. Excellent. There it is. Okay. For all those people that are with some of the negativity, it's okay. And it's not your fault. I'm going to be truthful. It's because your primary exposure to math was poor. And that's not your fault. So let me help you break stuff down. Okay, there's no fear, there's no intimidation whatsoever. So now we have 2, our GCF is 2. So 2 divided by 2 will give me 1. And since there's an x, this is considered a 1x, or I can just bring down the x. Negative 2 divided by positive 2, that gives me a negative 1. And there isn't any x's to bring down. What do we notice? Both of the parentheses are exactly the same. And that's what we want. So you can kind of think like, okay, everything that's not under a parenthesis, let's put that in one parenthesis. So that'll be your x plus 2. And then we'll put in our GCF and put that in its own parenthesis, which would be x minus 1. Okay? Now, if you put x minus 1 parenthesis x plus 2, that's fine. Because remember, multiplication is commutative. Okay? You can flip it around and it'll be the same thing either way. All right? And this is your answer factored. All right? Okay, so we're not canceling. The only time you cancel things is when you cancel factors is when you're doing rational functions. So let me use the back of this for something. So if it was like 2x plus 1 and this was 3x plus 1, for instance, these two, when you're dividing, that's when you can cancel things out. Okay? Not all parentheses you start canceling out. Okay? There you go. Shashan, how are you? Okay? All right, so when it's a fraction, you're canceling out. But when you're factoring, you're just merging them into one parenthesis. Okay? When they're not the same, they are the same. X plus 1, x plus 1. They're exactly the same. That's how you can cancel them out when you divide. Because when they're exactly the same, they give you the equivalent of 1. Just like if I said 2 over 2, that's the equivalent of 1. Okay. Because they're exactly the same factors. Thank you. Okay? You can't hate fractions. You deal with fractions every blessed day. It's just your exposure to it. Okay? It's your exposure to them. Relax. This is wrong with our society. Instant gratification. Calm it down. All right? So that's grouping. Anytime you have 4 terms, you group the first 2 terms, you group the last 2 terms, you find the GCF of each of the parentheses, and then what's outside the parentheses, there should always be a plus or a minus sign here, okay? So you gather what's outside the parenthesis, put them in one parenthesis, and your two parentheses that you factored should be exactly the same. If they're not, you got to check your GCF. Also check your signage. All right? And then you write that in another parenthesis. Yep, so this is the original question here. Okay, so if you think about it, fractions is a part over the whole thing. Okay. All right. Do I? Yes, I do. Okay, if you click on my Service Plus at the bottom of your screen, there's a button that says Service Plus. It has all that information in there. But also, let me just flash this up. Okay, so if you go here, just type in this. But I actually have a link on my Service Plus that you can just click on. But if you want to type it in, you can type it in. And if you do that, if you can do these 5 things for me, I would greatly appreciate it. So all of my videos from February 2nd until last night is up and ready to go at your disposal. So for people that want more of the AC method, if you want to learn more of that, I did something on that. I did something on more on factoring, solving 1-step, 2-step, multi-step equations, inequalities, interval notations, a little bit of trig, a little bit of Pythagorean theorem. Anything that has to deal with Algebra 1, basically, or anything that is going to be involved in the GED, ASVAB, ACCUPLACER, TEAS test, anything that has to deal with algebra, it's all in there, okay? All right, well, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so let me take that out before TikTok kicks me off, because that's happened last week. Yay. Thank you so much for tapping, guys. I greatly appreciate it. And if you are learning something and you want to tip the birthday girl, I would greatly appreciate it. There is a link right here. My solo tube, which will give you like all of my social media feeds. It will also give you another way of communicating with me. You can email me, you can text me. I can't do that here on TikTok, especially the texting part. It'll get completely overwhelmed, okay? But if you want, there is a little tip jar in there. So if you want to, you can tip me. All right. So before I get to, I just want to do when we're looking at trinomials, and we're looking at when your A is equal to 1, okay? If you can get that, you can get grouping, you'll be able to do any of these, okay? You'll definitely be able to do any of those. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So now we have our b squared plus 8b plus 7. Okay. So we're not solving, we're simplifying, we're factoring. Yep, exponential growth and decay is in there as well. Okay. Oh, well, thanks, Jen. Another Jenny. The double. I do some sample problems for SAT. I do that. I actually did that on, when's that coming up? Sunday. I do those on Sunday afternoons. Okay. Okay, good. All right, let's see if we can just take the sting, take the negativity. You are no longer that kid that was in middle school that was afraid to speak up because everybody wanted to go to recess and you just like, I still don't get it. You're no longer that little kid anymore, okay? This is a place where it's supposed to be a safe space. Say what you need to say. Yes, there's going to be trolls coming in and coming out, but they're the ones that are hurting as well. So that's why I just say eventually they're just going to chase themselves out. But I know that they're still watching and they're not responding because you're like, I'm finally getting this. Hey, I know. I was a teacher. I get it. All right. So for this, we're only going to do part of the AC method. So again, we have to label what our A is, what our B is, and what our C is. The A is always the coefficient of the highest degree. Okay, if you don't see anything, it's assumed that it's a 1. Your B is always going to be the coefficient in front of your B value, which in this case is 8. And your C is always the constant. So we're going to do a nice little cross. Okay, we're going to multiply our A and our C, and we're going to rewrite the B. So when I say AC, that means A times C. Okay, there's no plus or minus in between. What? All right. I'm getting too popular. That's what's happening. Oops. Sorry, Isaac. Okay. So let's take a look. My A times my C, that gives me 7. My B, I'm going to rewrite. That gives me 8. So now we need to think what two numbers multiply will give me 7 and add to give me 8. Yep, it's always going to be AC, no matter what the variables are. So we got Jess with 7 and 1. My person from another mister saying 7 and 1. Burnt out. Oh, I know the feeling. 7 and 1. Kayla, 1 and 7. Alba, 1 and negative 7. Not negative 7. Okay. So I agree with the 1 and 7, or the 7 and 1. Okay. Thank you so much for the gift. Appreciate it. All right. There you go. All right. So both of them are going to be positive, because 1 times 7, that gives me a positive 7. And 1 plus 7, that gives me a positive 8. So what you just did was you found your two parentheses. Okay? We didn't have to do the ratio because my leading coefficient is 1. So from here, I can actually split my variable. So I'm going to split my b's up. 1b here, 1b here, because b times b gives me b squared. Now, the numbers that we found for the factors, we're going to put it inside the parentheses. So that's a positive 1, so it'll be a plus 1. And that's a positive 7, that'll be a plus 7. Okay? You just factored your quadratic equation. Okay. Okay. Oh, good. Because you could do that ratio step. It's just an extra step. The reason why I don't do the ratio step when my leading coefficient is 1 is because I'm not going to have anything to reduce. Okay? You can still do it. If I wanted to put the ratio just to go with the practice, so that means you got 1b here. You have 1b there. Then you found the 1 and the 7. And you're like, okay, well then let me put it here. 1b plus 1, that's the same as b plus 1. And 1b plus 7, that's the same as b plus 7. Yep. Well, it's not going to be ab. Why is not So why is it the same variable? Because we have the same variable in our original equation. Okay, no problem. Okay, yep. It's more of a visual aid because sometimes we're just like trying to think of it in our heads, and we got like, you know, the latest song in our heads. You know, what we're gonna have for dinner in our heads. You know, am I gonna get turned up or turned down? You know, we got things to think about. So there's a lot of stuff going around in this noggin. So why not put it down? Okay, why not visualize it? Okay, let's try another one. So we got next example. Let's switch it up a little bit. So we got x squared minus 4x plus 24. Okay. Ty, you're not going to see factoring. Well, I can throw something in there. I'll try that. Yeah, I'll do a little something. With the cube root, no. Because that's the difference in the sum of cubes. And yeah, we may get to it. Let's see. Okay. So you got your A, you got your B, and you got your C. So your A is 1, your B is -4, your C is 24. So the A isn't the X, your A is the numbers that's in front of the X squared. Okay, Bridget, how are you? I haven't seen you in a minute. How's life treating you? Okay. I gotcha. Yeah, because it gets a little hairy scary when you start trying to do your cross. It's a little crazy. So this is my AC. Down here is my B. Okay. All right, so now we're going to multiply our A and our C. So that's 1 times 24. There you go, Jess. Thank you. So you got your 24. And you're rewriting your B, which is okay. Yep. So our B is just that -4. Okay. All right. Here you go, Bobby. Okay, Sharon. There you go, Jess. Burnt out. Good. All right. So all we're doing is just rewriting the B right here. So now we need to think. What two numbers multiplied will give me 24 and add to give me -4? Okay, this is probably the hardest part of these problems. Just really, and especially if you're not too strong with your multiplication, that will be a challenge as well. Okay. All right, well, thank you, Bridget. Okay. The hardest you're stuck. So we need factors of 24. So let's go to the handy dandy notebook. All right, so 24, we got 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. So if I want to add together to get me a -4, so if it's positive and I'm looking for a negative answer, that means both of the numbers have to be negative. Okay, both of the numbers are going to have to be negative. So which one do you think is going to give me my answer of -4? Wait, hold on. Let me make sure I wrote it. Let me make sure I wrote it down right. Yeah, I did. Okay, so one person saying none. Another person saying, okay, 8 times 3, nope. 6 times 4, nope. We got none. Bobby's saying 4 and 6. We got nope. We're saying impossible. And why are you crying? Why are you crying? Okay, 2 and 12. All right, if I add 2 and 12, I'm going to get 14. If I add 24 and 1, yeah, that's 25. If I add 3 and 5, that's going to be 11. If I add 6 and 4, that's going to be 10. So, is it possible for me to get two factors of 24, add together to give me a -4? No, sir, no, ma'am. So this is actually my answer, which we're going to write the word prime. Okay. You can just say prime. Okay. All right. So sometimes that happens, but because you did the visualization, you can see it. All right. Prime means that it's no solution. I don't want to say no solution. It's like you can't factor. It's not factorable. Okay. You can say no solution. I usually use the word prime. This is not factorable. All right. So let's see if I can make one. Let's try this one. All right, so let's say x squared minus 13xy plus 40y squared. Okay. So people with two variables, sneaky birthday challenge, no, right? Yep, that's the final result. That's what it is. Nope. What's it mean? There's no breaking it down. That means you can't factor it. You can't do anything further because there's no factors of 24 if you add them together to give me a -4. Okay. All right. So for my people that wanted two variables, this is what we're going to do. One, you're not going to freak out because you're going to basically be doing the same exact thing. So my A is still going to be the coefficient of my x squared, which is 1. My B is going to be the coefficient of xy, so that's -13. And my C is the coefficient of y squared, which is 40. We're going to draw our cross. To AC and B. So if we multiply the A and the C, that's 1 times 40. That gives me 40. And we rewrite our B, which is -13. So what two numbers multiplied together will give me 40 and add together to give me a -13? Okay. Burnt out saying -5 and -8. See, you're not that burnt out. He's probably like, girl, if you only knew. -8, -5, good. -8, -5, awesome. Okay, so we actually have some values here. So if I do -8, -5, because a negative times a negative gives me a positive. 8 times 5 gives me 40. And negative 8 plus negative 5, since they're both negative, that means my answer is also going to be negative. So you're probably saying, all right, Audrey, we found our numbers. But what about that y? What about that y? Let's break it down. Okay? Since my leading coefficient here was 1, I can split my x's. But we have this y squared. I can split my y's. And what's going to go inside is the two factors that we just found. So this one will be a negative 8, and this one will be a negative 5. That's how you do it when you have two variables. Okay, thank you, Arlene. Appreciate you. Okay, this is all you have to do. Yep, that's all it is. Okay, of course we can. And I'm actually going to leave you alone a little bit. I'm going to see if I can make this small enough that I can fit it right here so you can see both and use it as a model. Let me use this one. Let me just stick with the x and y's. So x squared plus 11x y plus 18y squared. Okay, use this one as a reference. Give this one a try. Okay, don't put your answers yet. I'm gonna tell you to do it in about a minute. Clock's starting now. Eyes wide shut. I usually have my sessions like later in the evening. It's just like on the weekends. I wouldn't want to torture your students during the weekends. But if you want to look at my schedule, if you look at my profile, you'll actually see I pinned my schedule. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. Because people's grandparents will bring their grandkids on the lives too. It's just like, my grandbaby's on here. Like, okay, are you warning me? Make sure that I'm not using very colored language. Yeah, I don't go live on YouTube. I don't know why. There should be a reason why. I think it's because I'm always here on TikTok. And at one point, I had like a third party and I was trying to go live on TikTok and on YouTube, and TikTok would not allow it. They blocked all the third party stuff, except for Discord, because they have a connection with Discord. So you would think, or do you want to just get a Discord? Because it's another thing I have to learn. That's why. I had to get away from Facebook because I felt like everyone was like, no, this is my group. This is my precious people. I don't want anything influencing my people. I'm like, really, guys? Oh, yeah. Yes, I do. Yeah, you can do whatever you need. I appreciate that. And if anybody needs private tutoring, just let me know, because I do that. That's my income right there. Yes, I do, Arlene. You don't see the end? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so it's just the 18y squared. Yes. A little bit. Okay, burnt out. All right, we definitely went past the minute part. Okay, so what did you guys get for answers? For private tutoring, there is a Service Plus button at the very bottom. And I have like all my links on there. And you can just like send, like either email me or send me a text message. Okay. Okay, not sure, Sharon? I got you. Yep. No problem. I know, it's hilarious. All right, so what'd you guys get for your answers? Okay, for your eyes only has x plus 10 and x minus 9. Okay, -9, -2, the first part. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you. Okay. Now, if you're not sure, you guys put question mark in the chat because that helps me as well. 1, sorry. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, Lucy. Appreciate you. All right, so you have x plus 2y, x plus 9y. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so first, my A is 1, my B is 11, my C is 18. Okay. So if I multiply my A and my C and rewrite my B, my A times my C will give me my 18. And rewrite my B, which is 11. So now I need to think, what two numbers multiplied together will give me 18 and add together to give me 11? So hopefully you guys would say 9 and 2. Okay, this is the toughest part, especially if multiplication is a little harsh. Okay, so 9 times 2 gives me 18, and 9 plus 2 gives me 11. So now we're going to the parentheses. So I got my set of parentheses here and set of parentheses here. So my leading coefficient is 1 for the x's, so I'm splitting my x's. Then I'm putting the 9 and the 2, so plus 9, plus 2. Then I'm splitting my y's, y and y. And that's it. Okay. So we're not going to factor by grouping because we only have 1, 2, 3 terms. Factor by grouping is when you have 4 terms. Okay. I didn't see the living. The living? Are you seeing dead people, Sharon? Girl, what you see? Oh, the 11. Okay. Like, Sharon, know what you see is some dead people, girl. Okay. Alrighty. Alrighty then. So that is factoring our trinomials. So we did factoring when we had trinomials. We did factoring with grouping, and we also did some factoring with the GCF. So anytime they ask you and they just do a simple instruction that says factoring, that means, okay, first thing, do I have a GCF? If you do, factor that bad boy out, okay? And then once you do that, you're dividing the original polynomial with your GCF, and then you're putting that remainder inside of a parenthesis. Now, if they give you 3 terms and they say to factor, that means they want you to factor it into 2 parentheses. And if they give you 4 terms, you can factor by grouping. And like we said, you're grouping the first 2, then you're grouping the last 2. And you're finding the GCF for each of the parentheses. That's what the 5x in this case is, and the plus 3 in this case is. Your parentheses should always look exactly the same. If they do, awesome, bring that bad boy down because that is your GCF for this particular line. And then whatever remains outside the parenthesis, you gather them up and put them into their own parenthesis. Okay, that's all right. It doesn't matter, Miss Rod. It doesn't matter if you put the, where are we? Here we are. It doesn't matter if you put the 9 here or the 2 there or switch it up, because mathematics is commutative, so it doesn't matter. So if you put the 2 here and the 9 there, and you got x plus 2y here, and then you have x plus 9y here, that's perfectly fine as well. But if you're taking any of their GED, your ASVAB, your ACCUPLACER, take a look at the answer choices to see which one will be the best match. Okay? All right, no problem. Yeah, we don't need to stress about like location. Not for this. Alrighty. Yes. Well, thank you, Carmen. Appreciate it. Okay, so if anything, thanks so much for the likes. Thanks so much for the follows. The gifts, all these lovely things. I love gifts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a breather, and at 2 p.m. I'm coming back, and again, it's another free session, and I'm just doing a lot of the basic math that is usually seen on the, what is that assessment called? I think it's HESI, HESI, that's used for nursing. So it's a lot of more different variations, there we go, of algebra. So I'm going to be here in about, 2 hours and 10 minutes. I'll be right here, ready to go. Hopefully TikTok will stop giving me violations for no opted reason. And watch, as soon as I get off the live, all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, everything's good. See, this is why. They don't want me to progress. I know you. Okay. Yes, is that the SAT? I don't know what the double SAT is. I know what SAT is. Okay, I don't know why, but the textbook explanation confuses me, but you explain a lot. Yeah, the textbooks will confuse you completely, because they, especially when it comes to the explanation, unless you're in a math class, you'll understand it. But it's not, as I like to say, student friendly. Okay, and especially if those are doing the GED. I don't know where my book went. Oh, it's over there. They always give you these long-winded answers. Say, let me get something like that. They either give you, say for instance, this is in the back of a GED book. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit. So they give you some of the basics is all right, but then all of a sudden it comes down here. And it's read and all this, and then it's just confusing. It's too much. Just like even when I was solving the problems when we were doing the GCF, it's too much. It overstimulates anybody. So that's why sometimes I like to use a little sheet of paper. So when I'm just really narrowing my sight, okay, I want to focus on this. If I wanted to focus, say, on this particular problem, I'm going to narrow it down with pieces of paper so I can focus. Okay, I need to do this. All right, that's next. Okay, then I just have this, and then I mirror it down. Because keeping it in sight, it helps. Because it's too much. Like, okay, if I'm done with this, because a lot of people will, like, say, do the grouping of this, and they will keep coming back to the original, like, well, what else do I have to do with this? You already did it. You did it down here. So cover that up, and now focus on that part. Okay, what do you notice? Oh, I noticed this and this. Okay, that's going to be one parenthesis, and then this and this is going to be another parenthesis. Boom. And then that's your answer. Because when you have so much going on one page, it's overstimulating. And then all of a sudden you get lost in the sauce, right? Hesse, thank you, D. Appreciate it. I was like, what is it? Hesse. Okay, so that's what we're going. She's a Hesse. Just sounds so illegal. Standardized testing for boarding schools. Interesting. Yeah, because I know I'm used to the HSPT. I might have to take a look into that, Stephanie. I'll see what I can do. All right. All right. Thank you, Caribbean Queen. All right. Thank you, everyone. Taking it in October. October what? Because October starts next week. October 17th. Okay. His best scores. Okay. Are you in Florida? I'm sorry. I'm being really... because I know I helped a couple people with special examinations. New York. Okay. Thank you. All right. Yeah, because I know I did one in Florida. I had a couple of students. All right, so you're in Florida. Okay. All righty. All right, well, let me take a look. If anything, Miss Stephanie, be on the alert, or if anything, message me. If you guys have any questions, maybe you want tutoring, any of that sort, just let me know. But if you are just starting out your journey on, like, say, GED, ASVAB, TEAS, HESI, like need help with the algebra component, I do have courses. So if anything, this is the place where you can go for the courses. And especially if you're just starting out, and if you just need some of the foundational piece, maybe you're a homeschool parent that's like, I just need something extra. Like I said, you can easily watch some of the videos that I have here. Okay, all of my replays are there as well. And if you have any questions, just reach out. I do respond. Okay, sometimes it might be 12 midnight my time, but it might be like, I don't know, 9 or 10 o'clock your time, because different time zones. Alrighty? All right, not a problem. Okay, everyone, have a lovely rest of your afternoon. Hopefully I might see you guys back here at 2 o'clock. And this is how I'm celebrating my birthday with you guys. This is awesome. All right, enjoy the rest of your day, and let's see if TikTok wants to play a nice game, or they just want to be, you know, an itch. An itch that we just can't scratch. And it's not a good itch. Not at all. All right. Take care, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Bye now.